Next matchup underway. And Kate, tell me, whose house is it?
Marc Hauss's house. Marc Hauss.
Marc's house.
Marc's house.
Who's been a Xcite Wrestling since the early days at the American Legion. Marc Hauss made his return here in Johnson City last month, and he's back in the wrestling scene. And here we go, starting off here, Marc Hauss taking on Pat Sawyer.
Big Pat Sawyer, who was in a match at night 1 of Xcite versus the World in the international title. Locking up early here.
Yep, Pat Sawyer backing Marc Hauss up into the corner.
Man, if Pat Sawyer wanted the title, he could just stand up and get it. It is suspended above the ring, but it feels like all he has to do is raise his hand and pull it down.
And now Marc Hauss, look at that, the pat on the face from Marc Hauss. We have to understand, Marc Hauss is a veteran here in Xcite Wrestling, making his return. And that was a little sign of disrespect by Pat Sawyer to Marc Hauss.
That's right. He was on hiatus for a bit, making a valiant return. We're so excited to have Marc Hauss back.
All the way from
Marc Hauss, not a slouch, by the way, and also not a small guy. He just looks a little bit smaller next to Pat Sawyer, but a strong competitor himself.
And down he goes.
Huge shoulder block from Pat Sawyer there. A clever move from Hauss there, letting him take his own momentum over the rope.
Marc Hauss going diving in. Sawyer caught him into a choke slam, and Marc Hauss fighting back, throws him into the post. And Marc Hauss is looking for something here. Trying to get Pat back in, elbow, and he's swinging away at Pat Sawyer, trying to keep him down. Keep the big man down is the name of the game for Marc Hauss. Marc Hauss now going off the rope, ducks through, drop kick to Pat Sawyer. Sawyer in the corner, elbow by Marc Hauss. Marc Hauss again. Sawyer catches him, and down he goes.
You know, the flurry of offense made it seem like Marc Hauss is in control, but all it takes is one quick stoppage from Pat Sawyer to throw that all out the window as a bird has flown in here into the face of Pat Sawyer.
And an open slap knocks Marc Hauss down like a tree.
He does. The house came tumbling down.
And look at that big boot miss. Hauss going towards the turnbuckle here onto the top. And look at that. Working on the leg there. Marc's house. All right.
I heard he splits a deed with Saraya and Swerve. It's everybody's house. It's those three's house.
Forearm shot taking down Pat Sawyer.
Hauss
the
being
kick out.
Clever early on here. We saw him let Pat Sawyer use his own momentum to go over the ropes earlier. Couple times letting Pat Sawyer beat himself up, which is a smart strategy.
And here we go, leg, right on the side of the apron there. Marc Hauss now grabbing the leg yet again. And takes him down. Just hurting that leg, chopping down the tall tree that is Pat Sawyer.
And we did see at night 1 the same strategy used by Vince Valor, just targeting that leg. It ended up working for Vince Valor, but not on its own. As Marc Hauss is doing the same thing.
And now Marc Hauss, look at that, he's biting onto the leg. Doing everything he can to take out Pat Sawyer. Trying to re-injure that leg there. Remember, Pat was out.
Referee using his discretion, saying, let him fight.
Just remember that Pat had to vacate the international championship because of his leg injury.
That's right.
And now Marc Hauss taking down Pat Sawyer.
You know, everybody
And the kick
is,
out.
you're not a tall guy if you're sitting down. Doesn't matter how tall you are initially. If you're on your knees or sitting down, if you can keep them low to the ground, you immediately wipe away the height advantage, the size advantage. It's a smart, smart strategy by Marc Hauss here.
Forearm shot at the back ahead of Pat Sawyer, dragging him into the ring here. Still working on that leg. Smart strategy by Marc Hauss.
Just keeping that leg isolated, driving it home. Pat Sawyer in massive pain in the ring here.
And now Marc Hauss has him up. Sawyer with a forearm shot. And look at that chop. More punches by the big man.
Mike, I got to be honest. I don't think I would want to get in a chopping back and forth with Pat Sawyer. Seems
Chop
bad.
block bulldog. Knocking down. And he's looking. Running senton. Going for the cover. And I believe you can. I would not want to be in a chop battle between these two.
Not at all. No thanks. Hard pass. But Marc Hauss getting in another flurry of offense. He keeps capitalizing on the momentum he's getting, which is a really smart strategy. Trying to get as much punishment in a small time as possible as Pat Sawyer finds his way to his feet here.
And Sawyer with a sidewalk slam. Just like that, the momentum has shifted. And just like airheads are out of control.
That's right. We'll let people behind the curtain. We had some airheads here at commentary. We're happy about it.
But the real question is, who's going to get up first in this contest? And now Marc Hauss and Pat Sawyer getting up, trying to get to their feet. Forearm shot. Teeing off. Hauss takes the counter. Sawyer going back and forth here. He's got him up for the choke slam. Down he goes, almost through the ring. 1, 2, 2.5.
You can hear the Xcite crowd coming alive. We, of course, are at the X, the OGX, the original X for night 2. We were in Horseheads, New York yesterday at the X2.
And that's right. And we were there in the Elmira area. And this is night 2. You'll be seeing 2 shows per weekend.
That's
for
right.
Xcite Wrestling.
Pat Sawyer fighting in both of them. He's had that knee worked over all weekend.
Look at the agility of Marc Hauss. Blockbuster, could this be it? And you saw he bounced off the ropes twice and went for that neck breaker.
Marc Hauss getting frustrated. He hooked both legs on that and still wasn't able to put Pat Sawyer away.
Marc is trying to reclaim his own property.
That's right.
I mean, you got to think about it this way. He comes here, new faces.
Rebuilding things brick by brick, Mike.
Absolutely. And he's trying to rebuild the house that he started, that they could train and they could excel here at Xcite Wrestling. And it's starting with Pat Sawyer, it looks like.
Pat Sawyer just making him look like a kid in the ring.
Here's a roll-up. Nope. Rolls through. Sawyer's got him by his throat. Nope. Counter by Marc Hauss. And a drop kick in midair by Pat Sawyer. That's it.
Pat Sawyer putting Marc Hauss away.
And I guess he literally stopped him in his tracks with that drop kick. As Pat Sawyer gets the victory.
With all that impact behind a drop kick, I can't imagine how that doesn't put someone away. And you see him hobbling on that leg. It's a good thing he put him away there, because a drop kick on a hobbling leg, I don't know if he would have lasted much longer. That was the move he had to do it on. Pat Sawyer lives another day here at Xcite Wrestling.
Indeed, another night. And Pat Sawyer looking on as he beats his opponent, Marc Hauss.
We've got so much more coming up for you here at Xcite Wrestling. We, of course, have Tyler Reed versus Trevor Terrian, which should be a fun match of two